Before we get into the video, let's discuss what is Budokai Z. Budokai Z is a hardcore Roblox game which is inspired by the famous Dragon Ball franchise by Akira Toriyama. Budokai Z is made by the Roblox developer Bane, and this being the third remake of his previous Dragon Ball games. Anyway, enough word drops. Why is Budokai Z doing so terribly as of right now? Only sitting around 40 to 50 players on average. This is because of the short-minded thinking on a lot of the main mechanics in the game, which leads to a lot of unfairness in the game. Some players quit because of this. So some points I'm going to be making in the video are discussing the terrible life system as well as the useless karma system. This video is going to be split into two big parts. The first part will be discussing the problems with the game, and then the second part is going to be on ways to fix the game for the better. So let's get into the first point. Here are the main problems in Budokai Z. They start with the life system, the boring grind, the no immersion, the useless karma system, and lastly their terrible PvE. Now, let's go into detail into why each of these are terrible as right now, starting with the life system. As of right now, if you're good to Budokai, you'll lose some Zenny and gain 50% of your fatigue. However, because of this, it is quite literally impossible to lose a life, unless A, the person picks you up and flies you all the way to the edge of the map and drops you, known as Voiden, which takes a life no matter what. Or B, they immediately attack you once you spawn and you're unable to rest the fatigues, then you lose another 50% fatigue, which then makes you lose a life. Some people believe that voiding is a good idea because since you can't take a life from somebody unless you void them, it's a good way to combat toxic people, but it also has the opposite effect. Watch this clip. Does this look fun or friendly? Because of this, lots of new players can get absolutely one-shotted by people who are like 10 times stronger than them, and then lose up to like 2 lives if they don't leave the server. Because of this, it makes a lot of new players quit the goddamn game because has a fun getting one-shot and falling into the void. And do you know someone that's even crazier? If you block them and leave the server and keep them blocked because they're harassing you, and obviously they're trying to wipe you, you can actually get warned or worse in the Budokai server because it's an official rule that you're breaking, which is so dumb. Imagine you block someone because they're trying to wipe you and they're like 100 times stronger, and then they report you because you blocked them, and then you're the one to get in trouble. Right now, this system is just terrible for neural players, and even just terrible for the life system because it's literally impossible to wipe unless you avoid it, which avoiding isn't even explained anywhere in the game, and you have to find out avoiding off source. Anyway, let's move on.
The next big problem of Budokai is the boring ass grind. There are a few reasons why this grind is boring. The first example being the shadow trading. This is just using the same combo against a bandit beater NPC, and this is not fun at all, and anyone should realize this. Not to mention the stupidity of leeching, the quest method and gravity chamber. I understand gravity chamber being a fairly good way of training, but having leeching and a goddamn quest method is just unfun. For being a Dragon Ball game, there is an incredible lack of sparring, which is the biggest part of training in Dragon Ball. That doesn't mean sparring should be the new meta, but I think there should be more training methods that aren't methods made by players. but instead a method that is a genuine feature and isn't taking advantage of the crappy systems put in place to ease the community. These methods are the main reason that Budokai is dying, only ever getting an average of 15 to 20 in its minimum and 70 in its maximum.
Let's talk about the immersion in Budokai. There are like 7 whole quests in the entire game, and then some mentor NPCs, and that's it. There's no other sort of NPCs or quests that give really any immersion. Due to this, the game feels quite bland and bare bones, to put it, because you spend 2 hours or even less completing all the 7 quests in the game, and then now you're just grinding power level and Zenny and outfits the rest of the game. Most planets are just useless, unless it's to get a skill from them or do some sort of method or a certain outfit. They're just useless. Compare Vegeta planet to Earth. Vegeta has nothing going for it. It used to have the NPC mentor, but that got switched to Earth. So now there's literally no reason to go there unless it's to train your 10 times gravity. But you can do that at Vampa or just do the gravity chamber. Sucks because there is so much wasted potential in all these like 7 or 8 planets they have, because they could do so much, but instead they just do the same copy and paste and make Earth the best planet by keeping everything at Earth and making planets like Vampire and Netflix have nothing. Anyway, that's enough of the immersion. Let's move on to the karma system and why it's bad. Right now, as it stands, karma is really only used for like 2 things, which is for the margin evolution and for King Kai to get Spirit Bomb and Kaioken. However, this just seems very lackluster because if only like 2 things impact karma, then what's the point of going good karma or bad karma? This feels like it's just here just to be here, the system, I mean, because there's nothing to do with karma besides from those 2 things. But if you're not a margin, and if you've already gotten the skills from King Kai, then Otherworld is just useless because there's nothing to hell, and there's nothing to heaven. So, what's the point of karma if it does basically nothing? It just gives people no punishment for good people, and gives no reward for people with good karma. It's just there. Like the immersion, this just feels like wasted potential, but we've been talking about this for too long, so let's move on.
These are the last problems of Budokai, the PvE and bad AI. And I think everyone can agree that PvE is a big part of games like this. Considering that PvE is one of the ways to grind in Budokai, but natural PvE is just a glorified flying bandit beater. The AI is simply just a follow player and when close and randomly shoot beams. The AI and PvE are most lacking in the entire game, and it's a shame to see that when there can be such cool features added. Why can't I spam mentors? Why can't I randomly get jumped by bandits? Why can't I have innocent civilians roam the streets of Earth? Why can't we get AI that can actually counter the XT, XT, XT? And it isn't just a simple bandit beater NPC. This makes PvE insanely unfun, as well as the fact that when you get to around 100k power level, you can just one-shot all the NPCs anyway.
This basically sums up all of the massive problems in Budokai. So let's move on to the second part of the video and discuss the solutions in order to fix these problems. Just like the problems, we're going to be starting with the life system. Well, for starters, avoidance should just be gone. It shouldn't exist at all. It's a dumb idea that gives no really any benefit to anyone, since it just gives people who are stronger an easy way to kill people who are weaker. You can probably just fix this by adding invisible borders to each planet. That way you can't fly into the void. Anyway, let's discuss what you should lose if you do die. If you're to fight someone who is 50% or below your power level, then you should lose a life. For example, let's say that you're chilling on Earth and some Saiyan comes up and attacks you, and he's only like 20k above you. If he wins the fight and grips you, then you should lose a life. Because if you're gonna fight someone who is like basically the same power as you, it's only fair that you lose something of value to yourself for losing that fight, like a life. However, you should also, when you spawn back in, get 2 minutes of spawn protection where no one can hit you. This will give you some time to leave the planet without then the fear of getting immediately spawn camped as soon as you spawn in. Also, a new mechanic that should be in the game is a fear mechanic. When you are killed by a player, you would get a 10-minute debuff to that player, which can range from stuff like doing a little bit less damage to maybe like flinching when you get hit. You can still like fight them, but you'll get like a 25% less damage reduction or something to them. So like there'll be no point to fight them. If you're killed by someone who is above the 50% power level, then the old system should just apply where you only gain 50% fatigue because it's not very fair to die to someone who you can't really fight back against. Unless you're like some god who's able to like fight off like 2 times the power level, but yeah. But if you're one shot by someone, or like if someone who attacks you and they're like 200% above your power level, then you should only gain a 25% fatigue and basically no zenny loss because I don't think you should really lose anything for getting one shot and being able to do nothing in the situation because it's not really fair for newer players if you just get one shotted and then the guy gets all your zenny and dragon balls and you gain like 50% fatigue. If you are to get jumped, then the rule should apply to the highest power level. So for example, if you're getting jumped by like 2 people, and one of those people are like your power level, but the second person is a little bit above the threshold, then you go by the above the threshold fatigue. So if you were to die in that scenario, you'd only gain like 50% fatigue, and you'd also gain the fear mechanic to both those players. I guarantee if you added all these aspects, the game would feel way more balanced and smoother because you wouldn't have people who are low level quit the game because they get one shot and voided. Now let's get into the next topic, which is how to improve the grinding.
The easiest ways to fix the boring grind and the sort of meta that everyone seems to do. I think there should be more ways to train and make them more viable, given the same amount of BP, instead of there being these methods that 9 out of 10 times are just gatekeeped, so newer players can't even catch up. I think that shadowing should be a minigame instead, and sparring should also have some sort of training minigame. But I also think that sparring normally should also give some benefits. Having different ways to train, while all of them being the meta, instead of just being a method, is better than only leeching and doing dailies. As it stands right now, dailies are the most broken part of training. It's a good way to catch up, but stronger players can use it themselves. Making there no way to catch up for newer players, nor any fun ways to grind other than doing a gravity chamber daily. There should be more various options to grind that are all equal in BP gain. I think that instead of Gravity Chamber being a solo way to train, you should be able to train with another player of your choice and spar on the Gravity Chamber.
Alright, now we have the immersion rework. So I got some ideas for this. Basically, what you really have to do is make more quests that actually has an impact to the planets or world. Like adding like some sort of like story quest. Like let's say you went to like Memphis and you have to figure out why the village is so poor because like the king is like I don't know, bad or something. Like add some like actual story to the goddamn game. You can also do this by like adding roaming NPCs, so NPCs that like walk around the map, because then it will also feel like the game's just alive because like there's people well, no people living there, but like it would feel like people are actually like there's like a community on that planet that lives there, and this will actually go work well with the karma system that I'm gonna be talking about later as well. And also, if you are going to add the story quest, make it so like there's like different endings and choices depending on the karma. Like, if you want a bad karma route, you can like choose to side with like the bad guys in the quest, or if you want to be a good guy, you can side with good guys. This will just make it more diverse and feel like I'm making my own story instead of having to follow the story that everyone else is doing. Add more story, add more NPCs that impact the world, and just add more like lore to planets so it feels alive. But enough of that. Now let's talk about the karma system. Why don't you make karma like actually do something? Like, why is that like there should be like pros and cons to go in certain karmas. For example, let's say that you want to go bad karma. You can talk to like a freezer NPC and you can join his freezer force, and then you get like daily quests to get more bad karma. There should be like reasons to go bad karma and reasons to go good karma. It shouldn't just be for margin evolution or just to otherworld or whatever that is. Adding NPCs that can like walk around the map like guards. Think of like Deep Woken or like games like those, like that have NPCs that walk around cities. If you have bad karma for that planet and you're in like a city zone and guards see you, they should attack you. If you fight someone in like a city zone, then they should fight you. Because like it will make the planet feel more alive that there's some sort of law system. But with this, there should be like a sparring tab or command where you can do with a player, where if you're sparring with a player, it won't actually give you bad rep and you can fight in city zones. This should just be like less of a hassle, so you don't have to like fly to like the outskirts of the map to fight. But yeah, this would just give karma like an actual reason and not just something that's just there. That basically just sums up most of the problems. But let's go into the final solutions for the PvE of the game. First of all, the PvE and the AI needs to be changed. The AI has to be so much better so it isn't so easily predictable. All you have to do is just do the same TX combo on the NPC, or you just one-shot them because you do Gravity Chamber once, and you can just one-shot basically most NPCs in the game, which gives no real meaning to the NPC quest because it's just so easy. The AI should be reworked because you keep getting jumped by NPCs because they don't fight you one at a time, so it makes it quite literally impossible to fight more than 2 NPCs without using beams or explosion wave because they just put you into an infinite combo every time you press X, or you have to use your evasive. But why don't NPCs wait one at a time, and then it will actually make waves a little bit harder? Not really, because you can still just camp near the spawn and spam explosive wave, and that's waves done. But you get what I mean. I get some of the weaker NPCs being one shot, but there's no strong NPCs. There's no NPCs that are in the millions or scale to your power level because they tended to make the game too easy. Now PvE is just useless. There should be some NPCs like quest NPCs, for example. They should be scaled to your power level, so you can't just one shot them. You have to actually try. But that basically sums up all of my solutions for the problems. And if you want to give your own suggestions, put them in the comments below. Or if you want to talk about my suggestions and how like they're bad or how you can improve on them, then put them in the comment section below. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a splendid day.